Be sure to listen, like, share, and subscribe for all the latest episodes, news, and updates. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at fistfights.friedricepodcast or at H8L.Muay Thai. On Twitter, follow us at H8L_Fight Talk.
I want this chance to show you that your garden karate is so much nonsense, and that's quite easy to do. I know Kung Fu.
Show me. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting adventure of H8L Presents Fistfights and Fried Rice. I am your host, Taz, and brought with me this evening, I have the man formerly known as the hater of all things women, but still stands by his assertion that women's self-defense is absolute garbage. I bring to you the Bastatch himself, Lobo.
It's all self-defense, not just women's self-defense.
Also joining us this evening, rounding out our trio here, I have the human encyclopedia, the Rain Man of martial arts, the knower of all things combat, a one Mr. Justice Magnificent.
What's going on, y'all?
How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Trying to live the dream.
Same.
I feel that.
The same.
I just wanted to say that I am glad that gyms are finally back open. And I've been having a blast going back to the gym. Though I will admit, I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, I actually do miss the training at H8L Underground. So I've come to this realization that I'm going to have to keep both going. I'm going to have to keep H8L going and H8L Underground going.
Shh, that's a secret.
That's why I'm only saying it with you two on the line.
So what do you miss about it?
Great seeing everybody. It's great training alongside everybody. You know, especially individuals that I haven't seen in months at a time. And it made me realize just how fortunate I am to have a successful gym that was able to survive and make it through something like COVID. And, fingers crossed, things are going well, and I want to make sure that they stay that way. But at the same time, I had a blast just, inviting people over and just, even though the location was smaller and we didn't have nearly as much equipment and nearly as much pads, it was great seeing how many people would actually come over, and still put in I was going to say the same level of work, but I actually think some of the workouts were just a little bit harder at Underground. But that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. A little bit harder? Yeah, they were a lot harder.
I didn't almost pass out in the regular gym.
Definitely opened up my eyes to some things, and it helped me realize just how fortunate I really am, because, like I said, a lot of other gyms didn't make it, and I'm glad that H8L was not a casualty of that. And I don't know if I said it at the time when I was cracking the whip and yelling at you guys and calling you guys names as you were dying during the workouts, but I wanted to say to not only you two gentlemen, but to anyone else and everyone else that either stepped foot through H8L Underground or took some time out of their busy schedule or lives during that 6 months and came in to put in work. I want to say thank you to all of you. I thank you for not only helping me keep the lights on, I thank you for helping me realize and appreciate just how good I really have it in terms of a gym, in terms of clientele, in terms of coaching, just the full spectrum of everything. I thank you guys.
Oh, man, there's no problem.
Yeah, man.
And you notice I made sure I gave this thank you during the most lightest of all recording and during the Skeleton Crew. And this will not be repeated again. And if anyone's like, oh, you didn't thank me, fuck you, I'm going to say, listen to the show, episode 13.
It's recorded, bitches.
And that is going to be my segue into episode 13, XARM. Now, this, for those of you who are just tuning in or listening or who've been riding by us since the beginning, there's something that you should either know or even be reminded of when it comes to fistfights and fried rice. We are not a podcast that just focuses on MMA. We are not a podcast that just focuses on UFC. We are a podcast that tries its best to run the full gambit of talking about, reviewing, featuring, talking about, critiquing, or even completely shitting on if needed. Any and all things combat related. And that's what brings us to today's topic of XARM. In just a few moments, we're going to go into what exactly is XARM. And the best way that I can explain it, mixed martial arts meets arm wrestling with a pinch of professional wrestling. But before we go into deeper detail, Deku is not here with us this evening, but I am going to provide us with a what we are eating this evening. Deku was right. You do really have to appreciate and love that intro. I do have to say that is one of my best intros. What we are eating on today, I should say what we had today, a little cantina food, salsaritas. Now I know some of you are probably going to think like, oh man, he copped out. He could have said anything. He could have named off this or named off that. But let me tell you why I'm bringing up salsaritas. Because for one, that shit is delicious. And I pride myself on being a connoisseur of all things food, and I've tried a lot of the different, I guess you can call them, standalone cantina style restaurants. I've tried the Cadobas, I've tried the Moe's, and for me, salsarita stands out above the rest. And I'm going to say something that many people will probably disagree with. Dare I say it, but I actually like salsaritas better than Chipotle. I actually think that salsaritas climbs on the back of Chipotle and takes a shit down its back. I think their queso is better. I think that their condiments are fresher. I think their food ultimately tastes better. I recommend the grilled shrimp burrito meal or combo, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Shit's fucking delicious. It is fucking delicious, and they load the fuck out that burrito. And unlike Chipotle or Moe's, or especially Qdoba, predominantly Qdoba and Chipotle, salsaritas won't give you the wicked shits. So there's my food recommendation. Fuck you if you don't like it. And yeah, go check out salsaritas. Kiss my ass. There's the food segment. Bam. Look at that. Less than 2 minutes. That's how the fuck that's done. Pro style.
What's the thing usually says? Scrum deliciousness or whatever?
Scrumptious. I don't know. Until he writes that shit down on a piece of paper, and so I can actually articulate that, I have no idea. So I'm just going to go with this. Eat salsaritas or get fucked. Bam. There it is. Oh yeah, and for you vegan heads out there, apparently they got some vegan shit. I saw it on the menu. I skipped over it, but I guess they got some vegan shit. So there you go.
Wow, vegan shit.
I'm assuming their vegan shit is just basically a fucking burrito with no meat in it and just everything else piled on. But I could be wrong. They might have some tofu shit. I didn't see it, but I also wasn't looking for it either.
I'm going to have to try it.
I have to try it as well.
Yes, far better than Chipotle or Moe's or Qdoba.
I've eaten Chipotle once.
And your thoughts?
My brother worked there, so I got it for free. That's all I'm saying.
That roughly translates to, folks, he enjoyed it going in and hated it coming out.
Very much so.
Wow.
And speaking of wicked shits, gentlemen, to know if you guys are aware of the breaking news that's happening in the world of combat sports.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
I mean that. Fuck you, San Diego. 4 things I want to get into before we get back into XARM. One, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. We have to talk about just a little bit of Adesanya and Costa. We definitely got to talk a little bit of Covington and Woodley. We also must talk about, but we definitely got to talk about this past fight of Hill and Waterson. And last, actually, you know what? Scratch that. Screw Hill and Waterson. No, we'll glance upon it. But I really want to talk about the lack of Poirier and Ferguson, that apparently is not happening. And of course, John Jones and Brock Lesnar. So let's just go ahead and get the easiest one out of the way first. Adesanya, Costa, how do you guys see it?
Lobo.
I didn't get to watch the fights.
That's okay. They haven't happened yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll go.
Go ahead.
So Stylebender and Costa. I'm gonna go with Adesanya, but he has to make it out of the first round. He has to. That's the first round is going to be very important. Very important.
I think the first round sets the pace of the fight. You have a guy that can. They have a guy that has proven that he can strike moving backwards with pretty pinpoint accuracy versus a guy that doesn't give a shit and who just bulldozes forward and throws everything with fight-ending power. When you hear about the expression of styles make fights, this is a perfect example of that. I'm going to cast my vote and I'm going to say Adesanya, but it is not going to be an easy fight. I don't think this is going to be another Adesanya-Romero fight. I think, honestly, both of these gentlemen are in the fight of their fucking lives right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, that first round... Huh?
What'd you say, Lobo?
I said I can't disagree.
Oh, whew. Okay. You scared me for a second. I thought you was like, nope, fuck you, I disagree. I was like, oh.
I will be controversial here.
I'm like, this is what we're doing? All right, Lobo, how do you see it? Adesanya or Acosta?
I can see it going either way, depending on what happens in the first round, and really what happens in the last round, depending on if it goes all the way.
I like where your mind is going. I do wonder, can Costa go 5 rounds? Hell, can Adesanya survive 5 rounds of that?
And that was going to be my question. My question is not if he can go 5 rounds, is can Adesanya survive that onslaught he's going to feel the first round or two?
Ooh, I am looking forward to that fight.
He's going to come out. Costa's going to come out swinging.
Oh yeah, for the fucking fences.
It might be the most entertaining fight of the year, depending on how it goes.
So let me ask you guys this: seeing how neither one of them are even remotely known for initiating takedowns, you think Costa's going to try wrestling? You just think fuck it, he's just going to stand and bang.
Again, that depends. If he does it, it's going to be the later rounds, and that means Adesanya is just picking him apart, just picking and choosing where he wants to hit him, and Costa has no answer whatsoever.
Gentlemen, your thoughts on the UFC not being able to come to terms with Dustin Poirier versus Tony Ferguson? You think that's all bullshit, or you think that's real? Based
on what I saw from Poirier's post, he could have very well priced himself out the fight with the negotiations. But I will say this. I don't know if I were him, if it's him and Ferguson, I don't know how that is not a main event unless it's, Khabib and Gaethje or something. It's got to be something major.
Oh, it's got to be. I can't see Poirier and Ferguson being the undercard of shit unless it's the undercard of another huge championship fight. If that's not the undercard of another huge championship fight, then that has to be main event. Honestly, I have to agree with you. I think that Poirier probably priced himself out. And I haven't read any of his tweets. I haven't gone to the fucking Twitterverse or any of that shit. I just listen to how Poirier talks about himself in regards to this is his time, this is his legacy. He's to the point now where he's looking for the big money fights. I could see him probably pricing himself out, especially after the way he got past Dan Hooker. I could see him asking for a little more, and honestly, I don't blame him for asking for a little more, all depending on how much it is that he's asking for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he's asking for main event money against Tony Ferguson, with that fight, it really don't matter who you have on the undercard. That's going to be fight of the year candidate just because.
Oh, absolutely. That is a must-see fight. Honestly, I don't give a shit if they have 2 sticks and a fucking rock on the undercard. I don't give a shit. I would still watch that card solely for that. Now, here's my question. If they do sign that fight, how do you guys see that fight going?
Man, I really don't know because Poirier has good hands. I can't go against Ferguson again. One time I did. That was against Gaethje. And again, I didn't think his body looked well because of the weight cut. I mean, even in the Gaethje fight, he did not. They stopped the fight. The fight was stopped. He was getting killed, but I don't know if Gaethje has that power to. I mean, Poirier has that power to put him away. Gage is a different type of. He's a different type of guy.
Lobo, how about yourself?
I'm having a hard time thinking.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
I mean, that's one. You know,
I can tell you how I'd like to see the fight go, but I don't know if it's going to even come close to that. I wouldn't mind seeing a knockout, drag-out war all 5 rounds.
that's probably what it's going to be.
This is going to be a first for this show. I actually cannot pick a winner. Because for every pro that I think of one thing, I think of a con for the other. And honestly, I'm completely on the fence on this one.
I mean, on paper, just statistics alone, you think about the skill set, I mean, it's close.
It's definitely going to come down to who can do the most damage the fastest.
I've learned that betting against Poirier is never a good idea. And I've learned with Ferguson, he's just a fucking wild man. You just don't know what he's going to fucking do. Wherever the fight goes, he's dangerous. But again, I'm sure as shit looking forward to it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Angela Overkill Hill. Karate Hottie Michelle Waterson. Now, Lobo, I know you didn't get a chance to watch the fights, so you're off the hook on this one. Floor is yours, Justice.
This one.
It was a close fight. That judge, the 49-46,
should be fired.
But
what?
is 49-46
in a razor close fight.
Some people picked Angela Hill. I didn't have Hill winning. Hill landed a lot more shots in that 5th round, but that side kick to the face and to the gut, those were game changers in my opinion. That's just me.
No, I agree.
Those were game changers in my opinion. When you looked at it and you saw what happened, it looked devastating. To the judges, it's going to look like, hey, she just took something heavy. So again, I couldn't be mad.
I fucking loved the fight. I thought it was a lot better than I gave it credit for. I think that Overkill implemented a great game plan, but in reverse. And what I mean by that is she put her best foot forward in rounds 1 and 2 when she should have played the same game that Karate Hottie played and did enough to land shots and stay active and busy enough. But in those championship rounds, that's when you need as much cardio and conditioning as you can and that fight conditioning to be able to throw those kicks and launch those kicks. I'll give Angela Hill her credit. Her footwork looked fantastic rounds 1 and 2. That right overhand, a thing of beauty for 2 rounds. Once the footwork went away, it was downhill from there. The takedowns were there. And let's call it what it is. As good as a defensive wrestler as Angela Hill is, she stuffed a lot of takedowns. But they weren't real takedowns that she stuffed. She stuffed a lot of feints and fakes. The real takedowns, when it happened, there was nothing that she can do. And once she got on the ground, I mean, let's call it what it is. Once Karate Hottie's on you, it's pretty much over for the most part. The kicks that Angela Hill were throwing, they were nice kicks, but you can tell they didn't have the steam or the power or the pop to really garner respect from Karate Hottie to not make her basically sidekick her in the fucking face. So my hat's off to Karate Hottie. And my hat's off to Angela Overkill Hill. I definitely think that she proved that she deserves to be mentioned as one of the best in that particular weight class. I think that she definitely proved her worth. I just wish that maybe, her corner would have implemented a better game plan. It just made me want to scream at the TV, where the fuck are the kicks? Like, the first 2 rounds, you looked great. Save that shit for rounds 4 and 5. You don't burn all your fucking best moves in rounds 1 and 2. You gotta John Jones that shit. Rounds 3, 4, 5, that's when you come alive. That's when you show the fucking judges what you're made of. And that's what Karate Hottie did. Them side kicks to the face and to the gut and that bullshit 1-2 dart-in leg kick that she kept landing over and over and over again, that kind of shit seals the deal in judges' eyes. By no means was that shit 49-46. Fuck that judge. That judge was clearly had one eye closed and a dick in his mouth. He didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
That explains a lot about the chat you guys were posting during the actual fight.
Yeah. But the first thing I said, I was like,
a professional wrestling judge? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, Angela Hill, coming from a kickboxing background, because she was good. She was good at kickboxing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you were saying when you were talking about the footwork, it was going to make it hard for her to throw kicks. It's a 5-round fight.
Yep.
Karate Hottie hasn't been put away in a while. Like, that's her thing now. She's just going in there, she's banging it out.
Mm-hmm.
So you can expect a 5-round fight.
And with her style, it's tailor-made for 5-round fights because she knows how to mix up the point style and the full contact style.
Now, to her credit, Karate Hottie should not be fighting at that weight class. Yeah, she should be like a Atom Weight something. In 1FC, she'd probably be unstoppable or close to it. She would be pretty good. At 105, remember they have Atom Weight.
I don't know if she'd be unstoppable. I mean,
105.
I'd have to look at that roster again to really get.
Yeah, that's a story for another.
Yeah, that's another show. That's another.
Yeah.
But my hat's off to both women. They put on great fights. So now that brings us Jon Jones potentially fighting Brock Lesnar. See, I was going to go on to Dominic Reyes and John Venklebex in regards to the light heavyweight title. And that in itself is an interesting matchup, and we can definitely touch base on that. But I really want to know what your thoughts are on the idea of Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar. Would either one of you, would you guys classify that as a super fight?
4 years ago, maybe. No.
Okay. I'm agree with Justice on this one.
Normally I'm in agreement with Justice, but I actually would consider this a super fight of sorts. Because no matter the amount of time Brock Lesnar's been away from the UFC, that man is a draw. And people have been clamoring for years to see Jon Jones potentially lose. So if I'm Dana White and I read or hear about Brock Lesnar going into free agency, and then I got Jon Jones relinquishing the title, somebody he's going up to heavyweight, find me a fight. Okay, I got a fight for you. I got a fight that's going to bring in not only the casuals, but it's going to bring in the wrestling fans, and it's going to bring in all the MMA heads that hate you. And it's going to bring in your fans. That's win, 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 win for UFC.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is.
I don't see how that's not a huge pay-per-view draw anywhere.
It is, but it most definitely will be Brock's last ever fight in MMA.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, yes. I'm not expecting him to win by any means. That Mark Hunt fight showed me everything I need to see. But the name value alone is what piques interest.
But is he willing to take the beat down to come with it? That's my thing about Brock. Will he come take that beat down?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He'll get hit a couple times, fucking crumble. Jones will get on top, pound him out, the end. That's how I see that fight going. It's not going to be no Jones and Gustafsson 1. It ain't going to be none of that shit. It's not, hell, it wouldn't even be it won't be a Jones and Reyes. Honestly, that shit wouldn't even be a Jones and fucking Matt Hamill. I'll go so far as to say that won't even be Jones and Vera.
I mean, for me, I don't care. I wouldn't care too much for it. And I guess you would consider me a hardcore fan.
Of course.
But yeah, just because it's Brock, it's like, it's a super fight. You're right, but it's a sideshow. It's like
it's a freak show.
A freak show. Yeah, there you go. It's a freak
absolutely.
show. Like, nah.
You know what that is? That is early Pride. That's what the fuck that fight is. It's the martial artist versus the monster. That's what the fuck that is.
I actually really want to see this fight now.
And that's how I would bill it. If I was UFC, that is how I would bill this fight. I would bill this as you take the most decorated mixed martial arts fighter in the world, arguably on the planet. Guaranteed GOAT status, guaranteed Hall of Famer. And then you take one of the most, and call it what you will, one of the most dominant sports entertainment champions to ever literally grace the octagon and win the title. You bill it as the martial artist versus the monster. A guy that can beat you numerous ways, standing up, on the ground, a tactician of systematic striking versus the monster, evil incarnate.
Well, and to Brock's credit, he not only won the title, but he defended it as well.
Yes, he did.
There are some perks to being that Jack.
Oh, absolutely. But at the same time, it's also a good test for Jones. One thing that Brock has that a lot of people sleep on is Brock has power. Whether it's natural or enhanced by some means, that's irrelevant. He's still powerful. He ain't on Ngannou level powerful. But if you can take a shot from Brock Lesnar, you might be able to take a shot from Ngannou. Not a clean shot. No, I was going to say not a clean shot. Not no over him shot. Not no shot like he did that other kickboxer. What was his name? Fucking, I can't think of his name. Jar or something.
Who, Brock?
No, the last guy in the gun who just killed.
Oh, Rosenstruck.
Yeah, Rosenstruck. Yeah, Jones ain't taking that shit. But if he can escape a man that size and pick him apart from the outside like how he would have to do with Brock, it'll answer a lot of questions. Or I should say the name Brock Lesnar alone piques people's interest. It's money.
You think Jones could take him down? Take down Brock.
I mean, anything's possible. I have been wrong before. I don't see Jones. I don't see Jones in trying to engage in a fucking full-on wrestling match with him. Like, he's not gonna be able to pull that schoolboy. He's not gonna be able to pull that schoolboy half Nelson like he did in the second Gustafsson fight against Brock Lesnar. But I can see him staying on the outside and just picking him apart. So in that fight, my choice, my pick, I'm going Jones. You gentlemen?
Yeah, if anybody pick Brock Lesnar to beat John Jones, anybody with the name other than Taz, see me.
I'm gonna pick Brock over Jones.
But since we are having a little bit of MMA talk, let me go ahead and slide this one in. What do you guys think about Reyes? You think he takes this title?
Yeah, he wins it.
I think he wins it pretty clean, actually.
Does he keep it?
I think he outstrikes him. I think he avoids the power. I think he wins by decision. And the new UFC light heavyweight champion, Dominic Reyes, yay. Enjoy the target on your back, because that top 5 in 205 is a who's who of absolute killers. But like you said, whether or not he keeps it, only time will tell. That's honestly the most I can give that.
I don't see him defending it. I really don't. I don't think he can beat Santos.
Ooh, that's a hell of a fight, provided he doesn't blow his fucking knees out.
Yeah, I don't think he beats Santos.
But we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk XARM, brought to us by the original UFC founder, Art Davies. And we are back. Now, back to our main topic. XARM. Kickboxing / MMA meets arm wrestling.
Just when you think you've seen it all.
You know what? That is the best way to put that, Lobo. A few things that we've covered on this show in regards to bare knuckle boxing and armored combat. And eventually we'll get into the 5-on-5 fucking Russian MMA shit, and eventually the arena hip show, goddamn parkour meets fucking MMA shit. This blew my fucking mind when I first saw this. I didn't know at first if I should have been just fucking disgusted at what I saw or just amused to shit. And then when I found out that Art Davies was responsible for this, it all actually made sense. No holds barred arm wrestling. I put a link out there in the chat so you can guys get yourselves familiarized with it. Now, did you guys have a chance to look at it, or if you were already aware of it?
Man,
I was aware of it, and I saw most of the highlights.
And your thoughts, starting with you, Lobo.
I'm willing to do a lot of dumb stuff. I would never do this.
All right.
Especially when you see people getting arm barred over the fucking table and kicked in the head. It's like no one's trying to arm wrestle. They're just tied together and just slugging the shit out of each other.
They might as well have just taken the fucking arm wrestling aspect out of this and just bound each other and just fight until there's a winner.
Like a leather strap match.
Yeah, exactly.
WW style. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought about.
Like, if you take that podium away, that's exactly what you have. You have WWF, goddamn Shawn Michaels versus fucking Bret Hart in a leather strap match. Winner take all. This shit was absolutely barbaric. Just, even the rule set, competing in 3 60-second rounds, that doesn't sound like a long time, but man, that's got to feel like fucking eternity when you're strapped to another man and you can't run, you can't back up, you can't leave, you can just do nothing except get your fucking brain punched out.
It's literally 60 seconds of getting punched in the face.
Yeah. And the fact that the rule set is basically like, okay, the first man to go unconscious loses. And if that doesn't happen, the judges pick a winner. Their criteria is basically based on who hurt the other more. Oh, and of course, the number of arm wrestling pins.
Did anybody actually see any of those? Because I didn't when I was watching the highlight reels.
No.
I seen Buddy try to jump guard or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was fucking amazing.
I think they have the worst uniform out of all combat sports, though.
It just blew my mind. Like, you're strapped to this dude, there's a podium in front of you, and you can head kick this motherfucker, you can jump knee them, you can pull guard, you can jump knee, you can do a lot of shit. And then, like, I was like, okay, there's no way that they've ever had more than one event. Come to find out, they've had plenty of events, and it blew my mind when I found out that Art Davies was responsible. Now, Justice, would you be so kind as to let the listeners know who is this Art Davies that I keep talking about?
Art Davies, he is one of the original founders of the UFC SEG group, SEG group, FEG group. I'm sorry, FEG group, and you know he's a hustler, man. I mean, there's no else to say. Now that he can, to quote Jay-Z, he can sell ice in the winter, fire in hell, or to a well. I mean, Art Davies can pretty much get any commission to do pretty much what he wants at this point. It doesn't matter.
Imagine if he did bare knuckle instead.
But it wouldn't work for him because if you like his personality, he wants game changing. Like at that time, the UFC was a game changer. So he wants a game changer. He won't settle for anything less. Like if you read any of his interviews, that's the type of guy he is. He wants the next big thing to say he discovered it, he created it by any means, and he's the guy.
Yeah, you know, he was also partially responsible for bringing K1 to the States. A lot of people don't realize that he had a big hand in that. Yeah,
when they took over K1, that was huge. Well, not take over, but they K1 USA. Yeah, that was huge.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. Is it pronounced XARM or XARM? Because I have no idea how to read that.
Everything I've seen has been XARM.
Just XARM? Yeah. Okay, I was like XARM. I'm assuming that's defunct now, right? Like I'm assuming that's they can't be still putting on events to this, can they?
Last event, okay. I'm not gonna say last event. I'm gonna say the last YouTube uploaded event was 8 months ago.
Get the fuck out of here.
So
they're still doing
it. Yeah, it's going on somewhere. And again, if it is, it's kind of like again, it's just spectators, like just people going in just to see a freak show.
Oh, absolutely. It's got it. Like
I want to found this shit.
The thing is, I would go and watch just to see it for myself. I mean, I'm sure, you know, like I said, watching the clips on YouTube is one thing, but being there and seeing it up close and personal has got to be just insane. Just insane. Just to see, you know, people freaking out or yelling and screaming. I mean, this right here has got to appease the Just Bleed gods.
Yeah.
Like this shit is absolutely insane, and I have to give Art Davies his credit. I don't think a lot of people give Art Davies enough credit. The shit that this man is able to pull out of his ass and get approved is amazing to me, and I commend him for actually not taking. How do I put this? You know, I give him credit for not taking the Bellator or World Series of Fighting route. He didn't try to go back to the well and try to recreate another UFC. You know, he could have easily, him and his investors could have easily spent their millions trying to basically redo, or I should say even remake the wheel. But they didn't. Instead, they'd opted to go a completely different route. And I would have loved to have just to hear what that meeting would have been. All right, guys, check this shit out. I'm about to blow your fucking mind. This shit right here.
All right.
Fuck Ultimate Fighting. Fuck Pride. Fuck Strike Force. I have an idea written on this fucking napkin right now that's gonna blow your fucking mind. Check this shit out. Check this shit out, okay? Picture two gladiators, right? Two fucking warriors, okay? All right, they're face to face. You know, put a podium right in front of them. Now they're both gonna put one arm down. You know, their strongest arm. Okay, we're gonna strap them together. and whoever gets the first pin or the most pins in X amount of time wins. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this is just nothing but arm wrestling. No, it's not. No, it's not. We're going to allow punches, kicks, knees, elbows, and submissions on the podium or off the podium or with the podium. Obviously, if you knock your opponent unconscious, you win.
How much money do you need?
I need $30 million startup. Fuck yeah. This shit right here is going to change the fucking world. This shit right here is going to put UFC into bankruptcy. This shit right here is going to blow people's minds. Nike is going to want to get on this shit. They're going to be like, yeah, just do it. Knee him in the face. Fuck yeah. This shit right here, crazy. All we need is a superstar. All we need is a fucking Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffin fucking arm wrestling style match. Oh man, it writes itself. And the sad thing is, I bet they were like, just like Lobo described, they already got their checkbook out.
Yep. How much do you need? And again, it's Art Davies. He has to have a hell of a team.
I could not even begin to imagine the sales pitch on this.
But the thing is, how do you argue it? With his track record, how do you argue it? No, I'm not saying I'm not saying that he did the UFC shit all by himself. No, but he was pretty goddamn instrumental. And now those letters, UFC, are known around the world. And despite what people want to say, he had a hand in that. Before there was ever a Zuffa, before there was ever a Dana White, there was an Art Davies. And with that track record, I mean, this motherfucker could sell stripes to a fucking tiger. Like, how do you tell him no? When everyone was like, oh, K1 will never reach stateside, he pulled it off. Until this day, K1 is still fondly remembered far more than that of like It's Showtime or Glory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that kind of shit speaks volumes. And I have to get Art Davies credit. And let me ask you guys this. Had he gone a different route and actually tried to create another UFC style promotion, you think it'd be successful?
That might be about as successful as Bellator.
Oh man.
I don't think so. I think that's one of the reasons they sold the UFC, because it was the idea was initially groundbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as making the necessary changes to make it mainstream and popular and kind of friendly just for TV,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's that guy.
I think he lost interest once he knew that once he understood that the format of style versus style was no longer going to generate the interest of the public. I think that probably helped his decision to bail, because he seems like the type of cat who was like, you know what? Like you said, I'm trying to do something different. I want to be revolutionary. I don't want to just do the same shit that 80 motherfuckers can just carbon copy. I want to do something that has never been done before or has been debated upon for years. Can Karate Joe beat Boxer Steve? Can Taekwondo Tammy take on Karate Karen? Like, with the style versus style format, I think is one of the things that helped sell and propel the early UFCs. I mean, obviously, your larger than life characters like your Tank Abbotts and your Dan Severance and so forth. Obviously, though, they had a huge factor and a huge play and a huge regard on the sport, and he was instrumental in a lot of that. Do you remember how long he was involved with UFC? Was he involved up until the Zuffa sale?
Yeah, because I think it was like the 1990, I want to say like 95, 96-ish.
Okay.
When they hired the matchmaker from Extreme Battle Cage, John Peretti.
Okay.
I think that's John Peretti, and he took that guy because, again, they were trying to make matchups because everybody was doing it. You had those guys in the Extreme Battle Cage, you had King of the Cage, you had all these different events, but none of the fighters were coming.
True.
So again, that's why I said maybe he's not that guy to give it longevity. He's the guy to start it up and say, all right, you got your foundation, make it work.
I gotcha. So Lobo, I'm going to put you on the spot, sir, now that you've had enough time to take a look at some of these clips and get a little back history on XARM. I'm going to play your little musical segment, and if you'll be so kind, let us know, XARM fighting, shit's legit or legitimately shit?
I don't know if the concept itself is legit, but I know there's definitely some legit guys who have fought in it. So there's some legit grapplers, there's some legit kickboxers. Boxing, I don't really see that it was mostly just people throwing haymakers. I'm gonna say the people fighting in it, for the most part, fairly legit.
Actually, I have to agree with you wholeheartedly. I think conceptually, this is legitimately a piece of shit. Full contact arm wrestling, like no matter how you break it down, it just sounds fucking stupid. But then you watch it, and you watch a 250-pound man get head kicked into fucking oblivion, or you watch some fucking John Mayer looking dude jump in the air and land a fucking jumping fucking flying knee on a person. There's legitimacy to this shit.
I think I just know what his next thing might be.
I'm listening.
Full contact mass wrestling. Have you seen that shit?
No. What is that?
But basically, it's two dudes on either side of a log. They're trying to pull each other over the log.
Jesus. The funny thing is,
this is a real thing.
Art Davies would probably make that shit work, and Art Davies would probably get that shit on pay-per-view. I don't know what it is about this man. It's just he is able to talk motherfuckers into anything. I don't know what kind of financial backers XARM has. I don't know, what their pay-per-view. I mean, I don't even think they even have pay-per-views. Like, I don't know if what he's trying to do is basically just start small and then slowly see if he can build it up with like free views off YouTube and so forth. If so, it's a smart tactic on his part rather than trying to jump right into the world of pay-per-view. Because I think this shit in terms of pay-per-view will fucking fail.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to be, again, just reading up on the guy. I'm not an expert on it, but just looking at his track record, it's meant to be like a one and done thing almost.
Makes sense.
And then let somebody else come in and take it over. Like pretty much that. That's how I look at it.
No, that's actually smart. Like that's what I would do. I mean, fuck, dude. I would invent some shit. I mean, I probably wouldn't go this route, but I would invent some shit, and if I can get enough buzz or enough interest, see if I can sell it off to someone, get a pretty penny, and fucking just bail out, and then work on my next, whatever my next endeavor is. I appreciate that, Lobo. Thank you for letting me know if you think this shit's legit or legitimately shit.
I just put in the chat mass wrestling, so you're not making this shit up.
Oh, I always believe you, sir, and I am definitely going to be checking this out. So, gentlemen, it is that time. It is that time where we review 1987's Over the Top, featuring a one Mr. Sylvester Stallone, and whatever the fuck the name of that kid is. I didn't even bother to learn or memorize that kid's name, because in all honesty, that had to be the most annoying, pubescent little shit on the fucking planet. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. Justice, I'm going to have you give us the synopsis for 1987's Over the Top.
And now, our feature presentation.
Whatever happens, I want you to stay with him.
Michael Cutler is my boy. You deserted him years ago, and that's a fact that you can't change. Damn you! Damn you.
Last time, they drove him from his son.
Do you really think you can make up 10 years in 2 to 3 days?
A boy too hurt to know the truth.
Grandfather always said you were a loser. Now you're trying to make me one, and I hate you for it.
I hate you. Better start someplace. Take the money. Start a new life. Start your own family.
Got a family.
This time, there'll be no turning back.
The court is going to give him to his father unless Hawks can't support it.
Lincoln Hawks has a long road to travel.
Welcome to the Arm Wrestling World Championship competition.
What are the odds on Lincoln Hawks?
20 to 1, pal. Real long shot.
He's a man who's never beaten the odds.
You never had anything, so you have nothing to lose.
This is over. I'm coming to get him.
The world meets nobody halfway. If you want it, Mike, you gotta take it.
Michael will never go with you because you're a loser.
Sylvester Stallone. Over the Top.
My bad, I got a little excited. It's one of my favorite movies. I watched this when I was young a lot.
Stop spoiling it, damn it.
But yeah, 1987's Over the Top is a film starring Sylvester Stallone. And he is a truck driver / arm wrestling veteran champion and regional guy. And he has a son. His baby mom is now struggling with a heart disease, and she wants him to get close to his son. And pretty much that's the story about him bonding with his son. He has a antagonist, big bald truck driver guy, looks like Bam Bam Bigelow. I can't think of his name. Yeah, and that. What is his name? Bull. It's Bull, actually. That's his name, Bull. So Bull is actually the antagonist. He's one of the tougher guys, arm wrestling champion, and he wants the match. He wants Sylvester Stallone, Hawk is his last name, to enter a tournament so they can duke it out. Not literally, but in the arm wrestling sense. And it's a good overall picture, man. You see a lot with Lincoln Hawk, bonding with his son more and more because his son don't know him. It's been however many years. And then you also see the struggle of being a truck driver and being on the road and just living that life, and also meeting, a rich woman, getting her pregnant, having parents being like, yeah, we'll pay you to, stay the fuck away. So,
You're no good. You gotta get out of here.
Get out of here. So yeah, overall good movie, coming of age, father-son bonding. You can do anything you put your mind to type deal.
That was very well said, sir. Very well said. And I thank you deeply for that synopsis. And I have to agree with you. Over the Top is one of those movies that is an absolute fucking classic. I will watch this movie anytime it's on TV. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they used to play this movie on TV back in the day all the fucking time?
Yes.
That's how I saw the film.
Yeah. They used to play the fuck out of Over the Top. Almost every Saturday, if not Sunday, Over the Top was playing. I want to say it would be like on like WB or WGN or one of those fucking channels. They used to play the shit out this movie. And this movie holds up and stands the test of time. And I think UT Bobby just said it, yes, and we were just shooting the shit one day. The reason why there have not been more arm wrestling style movies is because they cornered the fucking market, and I don't think you're going to get or do a better movie than this. This movie has everything you could ever possibly fucking ask for in just an American muscle film. You got a bunch of burly fucking dudes. Nobody's overly jacked and fucking ripped except for Stallone. But he wasn't like fucking Rocky IV jacked or none of that shit. He was big, but you could tell he was going for the aesthetic of the stereotype of the American trucker. The only negative thing that I really have about this movie is that fucking little boy that plays his son. I did not and do not and will not believe till this day that kid has ever been to a military school, because that kid is a full-blown fucking pussy.
Have you ever met a military brat?
Yes, and they don't act like that. At least not the ones I've met. This kid was a full-blown fucking pussy. You've always been a loser. You want to make me a loser too, and I'm going to run across 4 lanes of fucking traffic. Fuck you. Fuck you. Even when he was cheering for his dad, it just sounded feminine. Fuck him. and maybe it's because his balls hadn't dropped yet, and I'm just being overly hard on him. But for some reason, out of everything in this movie, it's only the kid that bothers me. I can look past the fact that the grandfather literally hired mercenaries to kidnap this kid just so he couldn't see his dad.
Absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, and they just glossed over that shit. For those listening or have listened to this show, you know how our rating scale is, and you know how our rating scale goes. 1 being absolute dog shit, or as Deku would say, absolute Hershey, squirts, doo-doo, balls, bullshit. We would give it a 1. 10 being the highest you can give it, which would be an absolute soul-obliterating shot to the fucking nuts, an absolute just tour de force. And again, normally I don't do this. Podcast history that I'm actually going to go and give my review first. I have to give this movie a 6. I actually put this above the reigning leader of Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
I have to agree. I mean, again, this is a classic, man. I mean, the truck driver. I mean, especially for us growing up in the 80s, trucks were a thing.
That was a thing.
Little boy. Like, if you were a little boy, trucks and guns, of course.
Hell yeah.
Maybe professional wrestling. That was it.
Yeah.
Those were the tough guys. Like, you didn't mess with the truck drivers. You didn't mess with bikers.
Nope.
Like, that was it.
In the 80s, there were 3 archetypes that you didn't fuck with. You didn't fuck with any type of fighter. If you saw a person fighting on TV, it didn't matter if they were a karate motherfucker or a boxing motherfucker. You didn't fuck with them. They were automatically the most baddest motherfuckers on the planet. Your Steven Seagals, your Chuck Norris, your Van Dams, your Shokusogus. You didn't fuck with them ever. Number 2, bikers. They will kill you. They will roll up to your fucking house, ride that Harley right up the fucking stairs of your house, and peel out on your mom's face. Like, you didn't fuck with bikers. And number 3, you damn sure didn't fuck with truckers. If you're driving in your car and that truck is next to you, get the fuck out of his way. And if you're a kid right in the back seat, you lived for that motherfucker to honk the horn. They were automatic tough. Hell yeah. They were automatic tough guys. They were automatic badasses. Didn't give a shit how fucking fat and burly they are when they got out of that truck. You just respected fucking truck drivers. They were just badasses. And this movie encompasses that. I mean, for fuck's sake. Steven Seagal. Sylvester Stallone shows up at the grandfather's house and kicks a motherfucker through the window. That's some boss shit. That is a straight up boss move. This movie, in my opinion, will always hold the test of, or always stand the test of time. Dialogue is absolute fuckery. The premise is absolutely absurd. That a grandfather would go that fucking far, rather than just talk to the dad like a man. Nah, I'm going to insult you and belittle you and berate you, and then hire a bunch of thugs to beat your ass and. Even from a law standpoint, I could not imagine being like, yeah, you can get full custody of your grandson, provided if Hawk can't prove in any kind of way that he can provide for his son, even though he clearly has a steady fucking job. Arm wrestling is the ticket.
He's a truck driver, and truck drivers are outlaws.
Yeah. Oh man, so it definitely gets a 6 from me, man. So if it gets a 6, it got a 6 from Justice Lobo. How you rating this movie, sir?
I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna give it a 6. This film, it makes me smile every time I watch it.
It's fucking great. I
can't fault it. As terrible as the kid actor is, and as absurd as the whole plot with the grandfather, it's still a great movie.
Could not agree more. Could not fucking agree more. So this is the first movie to actually get past Street Fighter the animated movie in what would be 13 episodes. Now, what was the other movie that tied with this one, or with Street Fighter? It was
Gladiator.
Gladiator,
yeah, 1992's Gladiators. Yeah, so that tied with Street Fighter 2 the animated movie, and Over the Top actually surpassed both of those. Dare I say it, but I believe that if anyone and everyone else was on the show other than Deku, I believe that it would still hold true that this would be rated above Street Fighter the animated movie. Now, Mr. Justice, if it's okay with you, sir, would you be so kind as to provide us the technique of the day?
Improve your skills, son. Harden your body. Become the number 1 man. Do not ever let anyone beat you.
Well, this week, it wasn't very much fighting in the movie to pick a technique, but I will highlight Lincoln Hawk's adjustment during the arm wrestling, which was his signature move, where he pretty much would grind the inside of his palm and re-grip the other guy's thumb and pretty much curve his wrist. And from that point on, it's just like a locomotive. He's driving with everything he got to the mat.
I have never tried that technique, arm wrestling any of my buddies, but I feel like that is a technically sound technique.
Well,
I think it's illegal.
Oh, it's totally illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're ungripping your hand to readjust. If anybody sees that, it's like, hey, foul.
Yeah, it's like in the movie he went like pretty much Matrix before the Matrix. Like everything slowed down, and he pretty much like the way he would do it will regrip. Well, he didn't actually let go of the hand, but his thumb kind of like relaxes and tenses back up, and he wraps his fingers around like the guy's wrist and curves his wrist. Like it's crazy. I don't know. When I saw it as a little kid, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go arm wrestle my dad, and the damn arm broke it.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't think, when I was watching this, I couldn't think of any other technique that you could possibly pull from this fucking movie. I mean, because like the fighting is limited at best, but man, that thumb grip shit, like I said, I believe that would be technically sound, and I could see how that would work, but I think in professional arm wrestling, there's no way in fucking hell they would ever let you do that.
Also, you're telling me he's the only guy who figured it out.
Exactly. Well, Justice, I appreciate you being so kind as to provide us with the technique of the day. Now, normally, sir, I would normally go right into memory lane, but I was wondering, sir, would you mind if I took over memory lane for today? Because it was something that I had remembered while watching this movie, and don't ask why I remembered it while watching this particular movie, but I was wondering, would you be so kind as to allow me the pleasure of doing memory lane?
Of course, go ahead.
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again.
Thank you very much. We're doing something a little different today. Justice was nice enough to allow me the reins to talk about and take us back down memory lane. The year is now 2001, and the organization that we're referring to is SmackGirl. Now, I have no idea why watching Over the Top made me think of SmackGirl. But after playing that intro music, I remembered why it made me think of SmackGirl. Because Hawk's son is so goddamn feminine in this movie that it made me think to myself, I just need a 12-year-old little girl to smack the fucking shit out of him. And it reminded me of SmackGirl. Now, SmackGirl, for those of you who didn't follow women's MMA back in the day, was what I like to refer to as a pioneer organization for women's MMA. Now, again, this is going back to, I want to say 2000, 2001. Justice will correct me if I'm wrong. But it was around that time. And they were one of the first organizations to actually feature women's MMA. They held about 65 or 67 events between basically 2001 to about 2008. They didn't have a long shelf life, but they did bring us some of the best female fighters of all time. They had, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Megumi Fuji fought for them.
That's the only name you got to say if you know women's MMA.
Yes, if you know women's MMA, you know Megumi Fuji. And if you don't, shame on yourself. If you look up anyone, before there was Ronda Rousey, before there was Miesha Tate, before there was Holly Holm, there was Megumi Fuji. I believe Rin Nakai fought for them as well, back before all the strange pictures, which I won't go into. Matter of fact, the Happy Warrior who fights in UFC today, Roxanne Modafferi, she fought in SmackGirl. That was actually the first time I had ever seen her fight. And when I say that her striking is leaps and bounds better today than it ever was before, go back and watch her fights over at SmackGirl, and you will laugh hysterically. But she knew how to fucking wrestle, though, so that was enough. And the other name that comes to mind is Hitomi Akano. Now, again, when you think of Megumi Fuji, Hitomi Akano, yes, those are Japanese names, but they ran the gambit of women's MMA. You would not have women's MMA without them. Like I said, they didn't last, SmackGirl didn't last very long. They ran into a shit ton of money problems, basically at the end of like 2008. And I want to say that they got bought out by another women's MMA organization. I don't know if it was Jules or Justice will fill me in on that. But I know that they got bought out by another women's organization. And that was, my go-to in terms of bringing us back down memory lane.
Jules, it was. You all right?
Woo! All right. I was really I was struggling there.
No, you haven't. Listen, I had forgot about SmackGirl. Like that's you brought one back up today. Yeah,
oh
that was
man! See, just getting this compliment from the Rain Man of martial arts makes me happy, because I think just about everybody fucking forgot about SmackGirl. I completely forgot about it until I just wanted to have somebody roll up and smack this fucking kid from this movie. But man, like they were a very highly underappreciated organization. Like I said,
Was this on cable TV? Because it looks familiar.
SmackGirl, I want to say, to be honest with you, I want to say that they may have had some TV events back in the day. But in all honesty, no, none of the channels really come to mind. I remember seeing them on DVD.
Yeah, DVD. I think you might have seen some on demand, like for DirecTV at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like DirecTV 2001 to 2005, like pretty much you could find Pride, like a bunch of Japanese organizations,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the pay-per-views would come on like crazy times, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was up.
I named off names like Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes, but in all honesty, if you didn't follow Japanese women's MMA or even Japanese MMA, to make it easier to help understand the impact that SmackGirl had in terms of women's MMA, I'm going to name off a name that most people aren't going to recognize right away, except for the hardcore fan. And that was Extreme Couture's Erin Toughhill. Erin Toughhill, in my opinion, never got the shake that she deserved in women's MMA. She was there before your Holly Holmes, before your Ronda Rouseys, before your Misha Tates. And, this girl did it all. She went on to become a fucking professional boxer. And matter of fact, she actually went up against Layla Ali. And if you don't know who that is, shame on yourself. Layla Ali is the daughter of the boxing legend and God himself, Muhammad Ali. She didn't have the greatest standout record. I want to say by the time she stopped doing SmackGirl, I want to say not even SmackGirl, but I think by the time she stopped doing MMA, she might have had a record of like 13-2 or 13-3 or some shit like that. But I mean, she went on to fight, like I said, SmackGirl, Palace Fighting Championships, a number of other organizations. But on top of that, if you don't recognize her from any of that, she was on one of the many American remakes of American Gladiators. I want to say it was the most recent one, the one that came out a handful of years ago. I want to say she might have been on it with like Gina Carano, but I think she was on there as like Steel or Tough as Steel or some fucking shit. That was literally the last time I saw Erin Toughhill. But I think
she's just coaching now, like fitness, and she has her own gym, I think.
Highly underrated fighter, man. Like I want to say she was like with a Tough Enough champion too. I want to say she held that title too. There was a lot of women's MMA that, I mean, obviously it hadn't blown up at the time, and a lot of these fighters weren't, household names. But Erin Toughhill was one, in my opinion, that never really got the fair shake. You look at the Gina Caranos of the world, and you look at the Ronda Rouseys. In my opinion, none of these broads would be here if it wasn't for women like Erin Toughhill, Megumi Fuji, hell, fucking Roxanne Modafferi. These girls paved the way. Go ahead, sir.
Jan Finney.
Yeah. It blows my mind when I hear, like, casuals or hear whomever talk about, women's MMA and when women's MMA, Invicta and blah blah blah. Nothing. I'm not taking anything away from Invicta. I give them credit for what it is, but I think SmackGirl should always be listed as one of the greats when it comes to women's MMA. I mean, they had a who's who. Granted, they were based out of Japan, but SmackGirl, like I said, was one of the premier organizations. And if you ever get a chance, guys, girls, whoever's listening, go out there on YouTube, type in SmackGirl, just watch the highlights, or fuck it, just, watch Jules. Fantastic organizations. And I want to say Jules is still going, I believe.
I haven't heard. I have to look that up. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything from Jules that like caught my eye to make me say, "Oh, there you are."
Oh no, they're. I don't think they're making any waves outside of fucking Japan. But oh yeah, hang on, let me look it up. Yeah, Deep Jules 30, October 31st, 2020. Yeah, so they're still putting on events, still having fights.
Wait, so they were bought out by Deep?
Yep, Deep International bought Jules. So now they're wow. So now their name is Deep Jules.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right. Hey, they're still doing it. So that definitely makes them one of the, if not the longest running women's MMA promotion still going. So props to them. Deep Jules.
Yeah.
I like that.
I want that t-shirt.
Oh man, that's something.
I had a feeling when I was thinking about, having somebody smack that kid from that movie. I was like, man, I wonder if Justice remembers SmackGirl. I bet once he hears the name SmackGirl, it'll all make sense to him.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking about, like you said, Jan Finney, Erin Toughhill, Carla Rosa, Julia Kedzie, who, like she's that old. She's not old, but she's like, she's a pioneer.
Yeah.
And then I think I know with MMA now it's just about striking, but man, the grappling, I mean,
ahead of its time, ahead of its fucking time. I have been tape trading and trading DVDs over the years because like Lobo, you brought up a good point. You asked where you could see these fights, and Justice gave really good examples in regards to how you could watch them at like 2 a.m. in the morning at some stations. But one of the most common ways was tape trading. The same way you would tape trade for like wrestling events or wrestling house shows. It was the same thing for martial arts shit. Because there wasn't really a place for you to turn to and watch shit like SmackGirl. Or, if you wanted some more obscure shit, if you wanted to watch the Sabaki Challenge, good luck finding a Sabaki Challenge tape. Or good luck watching the Sabaki Challenge on ESPN. That they weren't covering that shit. So you had to basically tape trade.
I mean, technically those days are still here. It's just on a different platform.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. A lot of that shit's online now. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that all this shit is fucking available to me and it's just at the click of a button. And I am not ashamed to say that I know some people who will illegally download it and get it for me, and I deeply appreciate their services. Because once these things are gone, they're fucking gone, man. There's so much shit out there, and that's one of the things that I love about this podcast is the fact that we have such knowledgeable individuals that will dig deep and help remind each other of the shit that got us to this point, or help introduce old shit to the newer generation or the newer listener. Because I love hearing people just hype the shit out of, oh man, Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm. Okay, cool. They weren't the first to do this. Not by any means.
Yeah, I remember you had to order, I used to have to beg my mom to order Full Contact Fighter magazine.
Yep.
Full Contact Fighter, Black Belt.
Oh, yeah, Black Belt. Here's an obscure one. Kick.
Kick.
Do you remember Kick magazine? Man.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, where's some other ones? There was Black Belt. Inside Kung Fu.
Karate Illustrated.
Damn it, you beat me. Yep, Karate Illustrated. Official Karate. That was one. I think Taekwondo even had a magazine.
Everybody had one.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really looked at it because it was Taekwondo, so I didn't really care.
A black belt in Taekwondo?
Shut up.
I'm not making fun of you.
Now, I was one of those 10-year-old black belts, so it kind of really, yeah. I mean, it counts, but it kind of doesn't count, you know. Oh, I got one. Fighting Stars.
Yeah,
remember that shit? That was like the only way to find out what was going on in fucking Hollywood. I think Dojo Magazine, Budo Press,
Taekwondo Times.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Journal of Asian Martial Arts. Really weird one.
That was, you know what that one was good for? That was a great one for learning about obscure martial arts. Like, long before Kali and fucking Eskrima became the go-to knife and stick fighting arts that everybody dick rides now, before you could only read about that shit in those magazines.
Oh, here's a good one. The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
Nice. I have 2 issues of a very obscure magazine that most people don't remember, and it came out in the 70s at the height of the Kung Fu craze, and that was Oriental Fighting Arts. Yeah, see that silence? No one remembers that shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't even know what that is. I would have to look that up.
Oh, man. If you ever get bored one day, look up Oriental Fighting Arts Magazine. They were all about the fucking Kung Fu tournament scene, the karate tournament scene. This is back when, like I said, the karate motherfuckers and Kung Fu dudes were the realest motherfuckers on the planet. And also back before the term Oriental was considered a bad thing.
I see it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I see Chuck Norris on the cover of one, yeah.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, that was all I had for you guys this evening. I want to say thank you for taking the time to joining me on this fucking adventure. I had fears that it wasn't going to be as entertaining of a show because there was only 3 of us. This was a dope-ass show.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love this shit, man.
The personalities are always going to be here.
Always.
Regardless whether if it's 3 of us or if it's all... How many of us is it? 7?
What is it? 8?
We're like fucking garbage pail kids. We just keep fucking growing. But like I said, gentlemen, that was all I had for you guys for this evening. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorder, play these fucking plugs, and we'll go ahead and get the fuck out of here. Excellent job tonight, guys.
Oh, yeah. Peace.
Be sure to listen, like, share, and subscribe for all the latest episodes, news, and updates. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at fistfights.friedricepodcast or at H8L.muay thai. On Twitter, follow us at H8L_Fight Talk.